Hey everybody, it's Martha again and welcome to day 10. Today we're going to talk about follow-ups and objections. So I'm going to get the yucky stuff out of the way first and talk about overcoming objections. So Zig Ziglar, good old Zig Ziglar said that obstacles are the things we see when we take our eyes off our goal. And I really like that because we get all kinds of objections, right? Like, I don't have the time, that's too expensive, I already have a protein shake that I like, the works, right? So my favorite way to overcome an objection is the feel, felt, found method. And it's a great way for someone to hear your heart behind your invitation and know that you're able to relate to them and care for them more than just as a potential sale. I like to respond to an objection, like say about money. I'm just going to put this one out there. They say they don't have enough money. I totally understand how you feel. I felt the same way when I first started, but I found that, and then you share your personal experience and how you overcame the objection yourself, just to help relate to that person. Another response is the I don't know, all I know is method. Something like, I don't know about that. All I know is if I were serious about getting healthy so I can keep up with my kids, I wouldn't let money be something that stops me. So that's a little more personal, and that might be, you might have to feel out like what kind of a person or what kind of a friend you're talking to at that point, but that's another objection response that I've used. So if you get objections, when you get objections, it doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong. It just means that the person you're talking to doesn't have enough information yet to make a positive decision. And if you look at it that way, getting an objection is just like needing to have an opportunity to get more information from that person about why they feel that way and give them more information that will eventually help them make a positive decision. So when you get an objection, stay positive. Be bold and ask open-ended questions primarily. Questions primarily, open-ended, definitely. Instead of questions with like one word answer, like yes, no, maybe, or how are you? Fine. Get them talking about their objections and show a sincere interest in helping them overcome it. Those are the best words that I've ever heard. Something like, what do you mean by that? Or tell me more about what's going on. Or what has or hasn't worked in the past for you when it comes to your fitness or your nutrition. Or can you share more with me about why you have that concern or why you feel that way? So those are just some examples of what you can respond. One of the differences between those who are successful and those who aren't is that the people that are successful have made it a priority to improve their ability to overcome objections. And you do this by practice. Good news and bad news. You just got to do it to get better at it. Trying to overcome objections as you get them instead of stopping whenever somebody just says no and stopping there. No doesn't mean never. No just means not right now. So if you can kind of retrain your brain to hear not right now instead of no, not ever, you'll be better off in the long run. And that no always leaves the door open for a follow-up, which leads me very nicely into my next topic. Speaking of which, so far you've made all your posts, right? Your regular posts that we talked about in Facebook setup and in social media. And you've made those posts on your social media pages, and you've reached out to people on your contact list, and you've invited, and now what? So most people will need more than one or two conversations with you before they're ready to make a decision. And you can see that as a good thing or a bad thing. They're watching you on social media, they're thinking about the conversation you had with them, but they still haven't made a decision yet. And that's a good key to remember, because sometimes it's very easy to think, if I don't hear from somebody right away, then they're either angry with me or they're upset with me, or they're worried, they think that I'm salesy and they don't want to talk to me anymore. And sometimes they're either just really thinking it over, or they have not been thinking about it at all and they need a reminder. So fortune is in the follow-up, right? You might have heard that before, but I firmly believe it. And I think that it's one of the most important keys to me building my business. And so I was really excited to talk to y'all about that today. So ideally, you want to follow up within a week of the last conversation you've had with someone, earlier if possible. I usually leave 2 to 3 days. And I tell them that I'm going to check in with them also. Let me check back with you. Take a look at this, and I'll check back with you in the next day or so. Following up isn't about selling. It's about building relationships. So when I was doing some research about follow-ups and why they're so important, I had 3 M's come up in front of me: memory, motive, and mute. So think about it this way. You want to have your people and the people you invite and follow up with, you want them to have a positive memory of you that leads to positive associations with what you're offering, right? So in order to do that, something that made you able to spark the conversation with them needs to be forefront in your mind. So remember who they are and details about them, something that made you think of them in the first place. Something you have in common, something you had a conversation about. When you follow up with them, you show that you're interested in helping them, even if initially they didn't seem interested, because you're talking about those things. So recalling, having a good memory, making a note to yourself about those things, and then being able to bring it up again, it just shows that you were listening. Second, motive. Your motive has to be more sincere than making a transaction. That's what we're talking about when putting them above a sale, and just meeting people where they are and reminding yourself that why joining for them is most beneficial for them, not for you, but for them. And remember, when you ask people to join a challenge group, you're also asking them to change some habits, and that's hard. And sometimes it takes follow-up and encouragement. A lot of times it takes follow-up or encouragement for them to be really ready to take that step. So just keep those things in your head. Third, mute. Mute the phone if you have to and listen so that you can't talk. But the key word here is mute, as in your mouth, and open up your ears and listen. Listening during the follow-up is so very important. Because it helps you formulate some questions to encourage them to share more about what they're thinking and what they're feeling. So keep the follow-up with your prospective customers simple, like very simple questions, but focused on them. Phrases like, hey, I just wanted to reach out and see if you're ready to jump into the challenge group we talked about, period. Or, did you have any questions about the information I sent you? I'm here to help. Or, I was just thinking about you and wanted to touch base quickly and see how things were going. How are you? That's a really simple, non-confrontational kind of way. People want to know that you care about how they feel and how they're doing. Bottom line, when you get a no, use that as an opportunity to set up another appointment. Unless someone tells me, no, I don't want to do this, I never will want to do this, stop contacting me, I will always respond with, I totally understand that this might not work for you right now. I tell them that I run a new group every month. And I asked them if it would be okay if I made a note to myself to check back next month when I'm getting my next group together to see if the timing is better then. And then I actually do it when they say yes, because most people do. Most people are okay with you checking back in another time. But then you actually have to do it. And that takes tracking. And you'll learn about that too. So when you get a no, use that as an opportunity to set up another appointment. That's the bottom line. Never just take a no and run away. You'll also want to follow up regularly with your new customers, like people that actually do join your challenge groups. Check in with them, follow up with them during the challenge group and after, if they kind of fall off, or even if they're hanging out. You want to make sure that you're checking in with them to make sure they're having a great experience, because we're in the business of service. And service means that you care for and you take concern for the people that you're serving. And following up with them is a really great way to show somebody that. It's not bugging. someone. You can lead with that fear if it makes you feel better, if it helps you put that in perspective. When I follow up with people, sometimes I do say, I really hope that I'm not bugging you. I hope that I'm not making a pest out of myself. I just want to make sure that you're not left out, because this is a great opportunity, something like that. It's the professional thing to do. It's not bugging someone. Imagine going to a restaurant. This is what helped me. You're seated by the hostess, and then the waitress comes and asks if you would like to see a menu. And you say, yeah, sure. And then she walks away and you never see her again. You probably wouldn't be frequenting that restaurant much after that night, right? It's the same for us. We invite somebody and they say, yes, we want more information. Or even if they say, no, I don't really want coffee right now. You ask more questions and maybe they just want water. So we ask questions and we follow up and we ask more questions. Think about how many times your coach followed up with you before you said yes. I know for me that was a lot. But what if they hadn't? What if they hadn't followed up with you? What if they hadn't asked again? What if they hadn't checked back in with you? So Tommy Migrant wrote a book called No Excuses, and it's a great book in case you're looking for or in the market for a new personal development book. In it, he said something that I love and that I remember all the time, and it really puts into perspective this whole idea of objections and follow-ups. And it's this: you lose the harvest when you leave the field. So even when you get the objections, even when it's hard, even when it doesn't feel like anybody's listening, be the one that sticks around, the one that person sees in their minds when they're finally ready, because you never know when they're going to be. So stick around, ask questions, check back, and don't let your fear get in the way of someone else's success. Have a great day, and ask any questions and check out the resources below. See ya.